Welcome back to another episode of In the Zone. This is episode 134. I am here, of course, always with Giancarlo Aulino, Anthony Pagniello, Chris Martelli here. And today we're going to start it off with the NHL playoffs. It's been a very, very emotional roller coaster, but it always is with Leaf fans in the postseason. Freshly getting eliminated, but I'm not going to start with that series. I'm going to kind of push that one a little more back. Talk about probably the most exciting when you think of goals expected, Tampa Bay and Carolina. It's 3-1 right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Carolina, of course, the higher seed. What have your guys' thoughts been on the overall series? Vasilevsky's looked pretty damn solid. But what have your overall thoughts been? I was just telling you guys before we went live, Nikita Kucherov, guys, wow. 17 points in his first 10 playoff games this year. He leads the whole league in points in the playoffs. Did not play all year with a brutal hip injury. I guess this is where I ask you guys, are you guys surprised?
For Kucherov, I want to say no. I think we're a little past this now. I think he's like kind of established as top, I don't even know, one of the best players in the league. He has been for some time now. I like a part of maybe a little. I don't want to go back on what is just because like leading the whole playoffs with some of the guys that are still in it is crazy. But he jumped in after missing pretty much the whole year along with the rest of their team, and it's like nothing even happened. So he's got 17 and 9 or 10 or whatever it was. The series has been amazing. It's 5 games so far. They've been going back and forth, even though it's 3-1 Tampa. The games have been close. It's been so fast and exciting. It's been fun. Kucherov's been the best in the playoffs, arguably, just like that. So this guy's a freak of nature.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that it's 3-1. Like, I know Tampa's a favorite in this, but I thought the way Carolina played surprised a lot of people during the season in that first round. I thought maybe they'd be tied at this point 2-2, going to a difference maker in game 5. And I thought this would be a long, grind them out 7-game series. It looked like that in the first 2 games, but it was Tampa that got the win there by 1 goal. But I still think Tampa's going to take this. Like, Carolina's a really good team. Aho is amazing. But you know what? Like, his playmaking and scoring, like, you need a balance there. And I think their defense is coming along nicely. Like, they have Pesci, they have Brishay, and it's something where what are you going to do in the offseason when this is done? Because you have different needs in your offense, and you have a lot of defenders that are going to draw some interest. So it's going to be interesting. Like, is it Dougie Hamilton that ends up being the one that you part ways with, or is it going to be a guy like Pesci? But going forward, I think this is a learning lesson for them against Tampa, who's built up from the top to bottom. They have a lot of depth that if you're going to win these kind of rounds against a team like Tampa, you're going to need depth on your third and fourth line to come in and be a difference maker. So I think it's just going to be something for the offseason to work on, but I think Carolina is well on their way there.
Yeah, I agree with you guys for sure. I mean, with Kucherov having 17 in the first 10, I mean, they took on Florida. Again, that was another high scoring series. We saw the goaltending woes continue, man, in Florida. I mean, you have Dreiger, you have Bobrovsky. They didn't show up when they needed to. So they relied on basically a 19, 20-year-old goaltender in Spencer Knight. I mean, but Alino, in terms of Carolina, so you think they need to make a couple more offseason moves? There's not a lot of teams out there that I think are as comfortable as Carolina, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, you're finishing first place. Martin Nikish, I don't know if you guys have kind of been watching him. He's slowly kind of transitioning into a star in our very own eyes. And you got to love what Teravainen's been able to do. Even in the playoffs, he's always performed pretty damn well. Svechnikov and Aho are going to be proms for years. I said this to a guy at work. I'm not going to say they're going to be like Backstrom and Ovi, but I think they're going to be a poor man's Backstrom and Ovi for years to come. I think Svech is one of the best power forwards in the whole league. I think Aho could probably be better than Backstrom in terms of offensive ability, but I don't know, Alino. I think this team they're built perfectly. The only thing I would really look at it on the back end is maybe a little more defensive help, because they have guys like Jake Bean in the pipeline, and they're just more strictly offensive. They got rid of a couple other big defensemen that they had in the past. Like Justin Falk was a guy too, where he was a part of this culture, and I didn't like the signing that St. Louis did for him. It kind of still doesn't really make sense to this day, but I don't think getting rid of Hamilton is the best thing to do. I think if anything, he might be your best player right now. If you're trying to see what the trade value is, that's one thing, but I'm not pulling a trigger on a Dougie Hamilton trade right now. I mean, Nikas is still learning. Svech is still learning. Niederreiter, to me, I think is one of the more underrated workhorses in the league too. So if there's one team I think that can come back from this 3-1 deficit, I won't say they'll win the series, but I can see Carolina maybe pushing to 7 if things start rolling their way, especially the goaltending. But I'll ask this, guys. I mean, we saw Reimer, we saw Mrazek, we saw Nedeljkovic all throughout the year. I mean, not really Mrazek. He was injured for most of it. But if you're moving forward with this similar group, which goalie are you keeping?
Between Mrazek and what was his name?
Nedeljkovic.
Yeah, that throws me off. Mrazek's been there for some years too, hasn't he?
I wouldn't say too long. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years, but he's been flipping back, stop, and starting goalie.
Yeah, because he's been up and down in the minors like a little earlier with Detroit at the time, and he's always kind of been a mystery. But this Carolina team, he kind of found his groove. But like, he's in his late 20s, I think now. It seems like he's been around for so long, but I would still roll with both of them. I honestly have no fucking idea who they're going to give the crease to. I think Carolina, like you guys have been saying, you're probably like in the best situation right now with all of these kids coming up and playing together. But for the goalies, it's still kind of a mystery. I'll give it to Mrazek just because he's been there longer and he's been proving himself. But the kid just came out of nowhere this year.
Yeah, probably you're going to flip between both of them, and that leaves, unfortunately, James Reimer, the odd one out. But if they buy out Reimer, who knows what they do with him? Maybe Reimer can come back to the Leafs and back up Jack Campbell. That'd be a solid story for Reimer. Loved Reimer. But yeah, like you touched on it, like Mrazek, it seems like he has been here for so long. Going back to Detroit, and then it didn't work out there. They ended up going with Jimmy Howard again as a starter when it looked like Mrazek was getting the crease there and gets traded. I think he went to Philly, didn't work out there, and finds himself in Carolina. And that's when he was finally living up to that potential that everyone was raving about. They're all hyping him up when he was on the World Juniors and playing amazing, shutting everyone down. And I think this is just a perfect situation for him. They allow him to play his style. And I just think there's a lot left for him to accomplish. I think he's still improving. Goalies we've seen, once they get like 31, 32 even, start to really come into their own. I think this is just one of those stories. I think another year or two is when he'll hit his peak and really be that guy that everyone thinks is a starter in the league. So I'm still going to keep Mrazek. I won't give up on him. And I think he's going to be a huge part of their future going forward.
I also... Not a lot, but I've mentioned in the past that maybe Freddie Anderson would be a good add on the Carolina Hurricanes roster. If you're looking at the goaltending, if you really want to part ways with Mrazek, if you think he's not a number one backstop, which I think it's kind of premature. I mean, his sample size as a starting goalie the last 2 years is relatively small, but the numbers they shine at you. They're pretty good. I want to say they're about at like a 922 save. So, yeah, Mrazek, like you said, Aulino, when they put him in the crease, they just let him do his thing. You could tell he's a lot more confident. And I think either way, if they get Freddie, if they keep Mrazek, I think Carolina the next 2-3 years are going to be at the top of the standings. But, Aulino, you quickly talked about the depth that is the problem for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I got to agree. You look at the bottom 6 forwards, guys like Cirelli, guys like Coleman, guys like Patrick Maroon. These guys are going to kill you in the playoffs. And then, of course, if you go on the other side of the spectrum in Carolina, they have guys like Jordan Stahl, who, mind you, have been playing absolutely incredible. But Brock McGinn and guys like that, they're not gonna get it done. So I like what you said there in terms of depth. I feel like Carolina, even though they're the number 1 seed and they're still not looked as the favorite, I think that's in part due to the depth that the defending champs have. And of course, having a guy like Victor Hedman, it just makes things a lot easier.
Oh yeah, and especially like Carolina, nothing against them, but they're not exactly the free agent destination that everyone's just telling their agent, yeah, get me to Carolina. I want to be there. So that's like where they get the, I guess, wrong end of it there. Like look at Columbus, similar situation. They have to improve their roster by trades. Hopefully they have success, and then maybe they'll get some free agent signings here or there, but they're not going to be that destination. So they have to take advantage of the pieces they have, like Dougie Hamilton, who they got when they traded Hannafin away, and they ended up lucking out with Hamilton because he ends up being amazing. Norris contender every year, stable on the back end. So I think it's just going to come down to that. They're going to have to make a big trade just to add to that depth and make their team better. And it's the only reason why I think if they make a big trade involving Hamilton, it might help them further along. But you never know because he did get Shea there. That was a solid pickup when they traded with the Rangers, got him to an extension. So drafting and developing has helped them. And having a guy like Jordan Staal be your leader is a good thing. I just think they're a few pieces away there.
Yeah, well, that was awesome. We'll move on now to I want to now quickly talk about the other playoff matchup that we gotta talk about now. We're gonna go to Montreal, and this to me, I don't really know what's more surprising, and I don't want to bring it up, but I fucking have to. Is them coming back and beating the Leafs in 7 games or sweeping Winnipeg in the second round? I don't know which one is more mind-boggling. Probably the first one, but man, let's start with this. Let's start talking. We got to get right into it. This Scheifele hit. Was it clean? Was it dirty? What were your guys' initial thoughts on the Scheifele hit?
Aulino, take it.
That was an old-time clean hockey hit. Nah, man, that was so bad. I think that was a difference maker there. If I'm the GM, I'm pissed off. Like Scheifele, an important player like that was reckless. That was a liability kind of play. It ends up costing them the second round. When if Scheifele's playing, yeah, maybe they lose the first game, but if Scheifele's in every game, I like their chances a lot better than when he's not in the lineup. So that ended up costing them, I think. If you had Scheifele in the lineup, maybe Winnipeg wins a couple games. We're still talking about this going to maybe 7 games. So I think that is going to really piss off the GM. I think this is like a situation where missed opportunity, kind of like Toronto. But if you're Winnipeg this kind of year, you had that first round, you had the rest after you sweep Edmonton, and you end up losing to Montreal. It's not a good look. So you can sweep Edmonton. That was a nice thing to hold your head on. But this is puzzling because you should have been walking through Montreal at that point, and now you're on the outside looking in with Edmonton and Toronto. So enjoy the off season. It's not going to be too fun over there.
It's a shame to see that with Scheifele because that's really that's not like him. It's very uncharacteristic for him to do that. But my initial thought when I saw it, honestly, I'm like, fuck yeah, big time hit. And then I kind of waited a minute and I'm like, he was in a terrible position and Scheifele was coming and flying. That was extremely dangerous. He probably should have played the puck because he could have stopped the goal if he went for a stick check instead of trying to fucking kill him. But that is a huge loss for the Jets. That's their best fucking player. So now they're going to have to – they're very deep, the Jets, but losing a guy like Scheifele is terrible. And they got fucking swept because of it. The Montreal just absolutely rolling. I don't know when the hell it happened, what part during Game 5 of the Toronto series, winning that game, but like they've just been on an absolute roll. Yeah, usually when like things go wrong for the Leafs, it's what they didn't do. But like for the Habs, like you got to give them credit. Like everyone's showed up. Gallagher came back at the perfect time. Guys like Toffoli coming in and Eric Staal and Corey Perry, all Stanley Cup champions, and they've all been amazing. Everything about this team is just clicking, especially the young guys in Suzuki and Caulfield. So I fucking hate it, but all credit to the Montreal Canadiens. They've been amazing, and they deserve to win the North Division.
Yeah, I want to quickly talk about that Scheifele hit. I'm glad you guys put on your your hats and your investigative hats, whatever you want to call it, and look at the tapes. But I thought that hit was so avoidable. And it goes to the point where, you're down. I think, what was it? I think it was 4-3, third period. Emotions, they get the better of you. And he absolutely killed Jake Evans. And this is a guy that he was in and out of the lineup in the Leaf series. He was barely playing. They literally only played him because I think Tatar had a bad game or a bad first couple games. They put Evans in to play him on the top line and the top penalty kill. And then all of a sudden, Jake Evans putting up some numbers, and the whole Scheifele hit. It was frustrating to be a hockey fan because that there's a big divide. There's the fans that say that was a great hit, and then there's the others that say, no, it was not a good hit. It was dangerous. It was almost career-ending if you think about it. Evans did a full flip. You saw his face hit the ice. It was just a scary time, and I just want to give a shout-out to Nick Ehlers because in that scrum, if you guys saw, they were starting to lean towards Evans, and he's like the only guy that's trying to get all the guys to not go near him. Like, guys, there's a guy on the floor here. Let's not all jump on him here and fall on him. So with that being said, I agree with what you guys both said. When Scheifele's out of this series, it's basically a wash. You got to rely on guys like Paul Stastny, who also missed a couple games in the series. So that leaves you with who? Brian Little, Adam Lowry down the middle. It's not good enough. And like you said, Montreal, they've been just swinging. They've been going. Ben Chariot's been averaging like 24 minutes a night. He's been playing such a great defensive game. I don't know how, but Winnipeg is definitely, pitching themselves for letting him go, I guess. Edmondson's look great. Like you said, Cole Caulfield coming in, the dynamic offensive ability that he has. It brings excitement, you could tell, in the Montreal faithful and the young guys and Suzuki and Caulfield and Kotkaniemi. They're bringing that young type of mojo to this team. And then, of course, like you said, when you add guys like Perry, Toffoli, Stahl, these Stanley Cup champs, they know what it takes to win. Shea Weber has a gold medal, so he's also really thirsty for his first cup. Carey Price, what I really can't say anything bad about him other than he's a member of the Montreal Canadiens. He's one of the greatest goalies of all time. My biggest question here, guys, is if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan moving forward, because we've been saying this for years now, I want to say about the same time as the Leafs. I want to say they've had about the same window, and they've both been pretty damn disappointing. If you're a Winnipeg fan, should you be as upset as a Leaf fan, or is that just a stupid question?
Take it, buddy.
It should have been me. It should have been me. That's what they're probably saying. Every single Leaf in the roster and management, it should have been me. They should have been looking at this series right now. That could have been them. Take off the Armia jersey there, put Mitchie's jersey, a Leaf scoring a goal there, past Hellebuck, who looks like he's defeated. That should have been the Leafs. This is sad just to watch. And you know what? It's going to be something where Montreal now has more momentum. It looks scary because Shea Weber, Corey Perry, Eric Stahl, veterans, Carey Price and net. So you have that leadership there who've won before, especially when you're Eric Stahl and Corey Perry. You know what it takes to win a cup. It's just going to come down to will the other players step up in this moment, because now the Final Four, you're looking at Colorado or Vegas. I don't like that matchup at all. So you're going to really have to step up this competition now. Their compete level, if they're going to go probably 7 games with those teams, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, they're really the Carolina Hurricanes, from like 2 years ago, if you think about it. This is a team where you did not think they would go anywhere, and they're now in the semifinals. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like Lakeinen the other night comes in the game. I don't know who he went in for. I want to say Evans comes in, scores a goal, 7 shots. So these bench players, these guys that are barely playing for Montreal, you could just tell they're driven, man. Like Lakeinen coming in after being benched, Armia coming in and continuously just being a threat. We saw the shots, the goals he scored against Campbell. He has a nice wrister. So these guys on Montreal, they're hungry. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think teams are starting to realize that they're actually for real. This isn't just a fluke. They beat out 2 unreal teams in Winnipeg and Toronto. And I guess they just got to wait and see if they can actually go toe-to-toe with a team like Colorado. We've said no, and they've just kept continuing to just come. So we got to wait and see. Until they're eliminated, I can't really bet against them right now.
What do you think about Corey Perry when you see Dallas? I'm looking at it like Corey Perry's really giving him a middle finger. Like they put him on waivers. It looked like no one was going to claim him. This guy could have retired. Goes to Montreal and completely turns his season around. I think they goofed that. If Dallas kept him, we saw what he did in the playoffs not even last year, like 10 months ago, and goes to the finals. He was still he wasn't scoring 50 goals a year, but he was still an impact player for them, important on the third and fourth line. So if I'm Dallas and their management, I think that's you let a player like that go. He could have helped your team make the playoffs this year. So Dallas is as much to blame for this as some of these other teams underestimating the Habs.
Take it, Pagniello.
Chris, what was your the original question about the Jets? If they should be as mad as Leaf fans?
It's just because I was sorry, Aulino. Well, I guess we'll talk about that question in a sec, the Perry one. But yeah, it's just because I was looking at the way that they've been built over the years, Winnipeg and Toronto, and it just kind of, I feel like the window is almost the same. That they've had the same progression, the same regression, the same struggles. I wouldn't say maybe to the standpoint because of the media in Toronto, of course, is a lot worse than in Winnipeg. But in terms of the star power you have, they both of the Toronto and Winnipeg, their only flaw really, if you look at their team, is defensively. I mean, you now have Campbell, you have Hellebuck. I mean, Hellebuck's way better than Campbell, but you have solid goaltending, you have great forwards. It's just if you're I guess my question is, if you're a Winnipeg fan, kind of like being a Leaf fan, like what do you expect moving forward, and when do these positive outcomes start just coming for these teams?
I thought for the Jets it would have been coming like in the last few years. For them, it's tough. What kind of fucked them up was when all their D kind of left. Like when Bufflin said, "I'm just not coming back. I'm chilling." That's what kind of fucked them up. They lost Tyler Myers, who was he was playing behind a lot of guys at the time, but he was still valuable to that team. So like Josh Morrissey had to take a huge jump. All their forwards are still there, but like I think they're in a very similar situation as Toronto, and I think their fans are waiting for that next step. But like when they had it all together at first, they got punked by those Anaheim teams, those experienced teams, and now they just can't get it going here. I think this year specifically, because like the Canadian division, we were as Leaf fans, we were looking at it thinking, okay, if we just stick to our fucking game and don't pull a classic Toronto, we could walk to the conference finals. I bet Jets fans are in the same situation because next year now they got to go back to their division. It's going to get so much tougher. So for Jets fans and for Leafs fans, they were thinking this was the year we can really do some damage. Now, yeah, it's a bit of a shot in the foot now going forward.
But if you're a guy like Cheveldayoff and you see the emergence of Connor Hellebuck the last 3 years, because I think it was 4 years ago when Laine was tearing it up in his rookie year or second year, and they really didn't know who their goalie was. Remember, they had Hutch, they had, I think, Pavelec and Hellebuck all basically going back and forth. So if you're Winnipeg and Cheveldayoff and you see how great Hellebuck is, don't you think this offseason is like probably one of the biggest for Winnipeg? I think they need to go out and get a big name defenseman, don't you think?
I mean, like you were saying before, there's not really much else you can do. The goalies are Hellebuck's got it on lock. He has for a few years now. Fucking American. And their Jets have the forwards on the Jets for years, basically since they came back to the NHL, have just been stacked. So I'm just sticking with that process if I'm over there. Like Wheeler's still rolling. Ehlers and Scheifele are in their fucking mid-20s. Connor's amazing. He's really broken out the last couple of years. They got to work on the D. This is still a very young, still a very good team. They just got to work on that defense because Josh Morrissey cannot carry that.
Yeah, and they still have Dubois too, like amazing player.
Yeah.
Like up and down the lineup, you can go top line, third line, shutdown role. Yeah, their forwards aren't the problem. I agree. I think it's just a defenseman. Like Morrissey had to step up, I think, a little too soon than what they were even expecting, just because Bufflin and Myers and like everybody left. So he's kind of in a bad situation there. But going forward, like it's just not even a trade. I think they're well off in their scouting where somebody from within might be able to come out. So I think Jets fans should be a little bit more optimistic. Like it sucks going out like this, but they're still on a good path there. They don't have too many old players taking up the cap, and they don't have to worry about giving Line A $12 million because he's not on the team anymore. So Dubois got a nice contract.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like with this whole Montreal narrative, I feel like this could actually be, I don't want to sound like the most positive person in the world, but I feel like with this run that Montreal's gone on, maybe this can finally wake up Winnipeg and Toronto and, really like dig deep into what the identity has to be successful. Because I mean, like, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but the last 2 years, every time me and Pagniello talk about Montreal, it's a joke fest. We just start laughing. And here they are, they're in the semifinals. And it's like, well, are we just dumbasses where we don't see it? Or like, what is going on here? So for me, I guess the only positive here is with Montreal coming out of nowhere and being like, yeah, we are here and we're real. This is not a fluke. It's like, okay, well, what the hell do the Leafs and the Jets have to do to be successful? We've had the blueprint for 5 years and we can't win a playoff series. So to me, like, and Pagniello, how many years ago did we say Bergevin has to be fired? Like, how many moves has this guy made where we look at him and say, yeah, I don't think he's the one. And he's still there and he's in the semifinals. So I don't know how he does it, but this, to me, this whole North Division was just a complete joke in the long run. You just see a team barely make the playoffs and they win it. It was just so funny seeing Montreal win this division. Just hilarious.
That's a good example of you just got to get in, and then anything can happen. And then if you have the right guys and you do the right things, who the fuck knows? And that's Montreal this year. And you brought it up before, a guy like Corey Perry, who basically, if you can put up with him all year, because like he may rest one game, he may not play for a week, he may look slow at times, but if you can get in the playoffs, you get those kinds of players, he's gonna fuck you up, and that's what he did. So Corey Perry making Dallas look stupid because he was solid for him, and he went to the finals, and then he did the very same thing the next year with Montreal. So yeah, former 50-goal scorer, he's still fucking playing at a solid level. So you got to give the Canadians some love.
Yeah, if I'm Dallas, I'm looking at that, and that could have probably been the X factor to make the playoffs. I know they were, 5 points behind St. Louis to make it, or maybe even not even. But Aulino, I like how you brought that up because, I mean, they got kind of lucky if you think about it, Dallas, this year. I don't want to say lucky, but they were definitely thankful. I mean, Robertson going into the lineup and doing what he did, probably the second best rookie this year behind Kaprizov. Even a guy like Rue Pintz, I was saying to Pagniello off and on this year that this guy has kind of shown me flashes of being a first-line center. So they got kind of lucky with – I don't want to say that Hintz and Robertson are going to be good players. It's just they kind of came out of nowhere. I knew Hintz was going to be a big part of their roster, but didn't think he'd be the number one option for majority of the year. Pavelski, he looked like he was in his prime this year. And next year we all know that he's probably going to put up 30 points. So it really sucks for a team like Dallas where they were in the finals. Corey Perry, I believe, had 4 or 5 goals last year in the postseason. This year he already has 2 or 3, and all of a sudden they're in the semis. So yeah, if you're Dallas, you're definitely biting your lip after seeing what Corey Perry's been able to do. But moving on, this was all good stuff, boys. I want to quickly talk now going into the West. This is the series that we all really, really want to see, and it's been amazing. It's been back and forth. Colorado and Vegas. These guys are the favorites here. I really don't know who's going to win this series. I still think Colorado's the better team. What do you guys think has to go well for Vegas if they pull this one out?
Take it, bud.
Oh, they're going to need a complete team effort because we haven't really seen, like we saw Colorado when McKinnon gets going and Rantanen, they're just able to overwhelm the team's defense. But Vegas, the way they're built, it's going to be a lot of balanced play up and down the lineup. Their defense, Pietrangelo in there, hasn't scored the amount of goals and put up as much points as I'm sure they wanted with the amount of money they pay. But that's a guy, if you're going on a cup run, you want him on your team. Marc-Andre Fleury, you have him in the lineup. You have Leonard to fall back on. So from a goalie standpoint, they've been balancing it out well. I think Fleury is due for another game stealer. So this is a tough one to really predict. I think this could go 7, and it's just going to come down to who's going to show up in that game. We haven't seen McKinnon in this spot before, really, where they're favored to win the cup, and you just in a spot against another team that is favored to win the cup. These are two of the best teams, I think. I think they're over Tampa in terms of favorites to win. So I think whoever wins this series is going to be the Stanley Cup champion. So when you have these two facing each other, that's what we're going to get here. And this is going to be a preview of whoever can win that Conn Smythe is going to come down to how they performed really in this series.
I'm with you on that last part there. The winner from this series will go on to win the cup. I think it's going to come down to a hair. I have Colorado winning, but if Vegas is going to come out, I think it just comes down to one man. And you brought up his name a little earlier, Marc-Andre Fleury, a man who's been there multiple fucking times. He knows what the pressure's like. He's still doing it, even at 35 years old. I think he's that kind of guy in Game 6 or Game 7, like you just mentioned. Cuz McKinnon and Rantanen, they haven't gone that far in the playoffs yet, consistently. Fleury knows what it takes to win a game. So if it were to go to Game 6, Game 7, God forbid, if he can win you a game, that'll be the one he wants you to win. So I think it relies on one man, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to agree with that. I think if Fleury, he's the guy to really change it. If this guy goes to another Stanley Cup final and wins, like he's right there with Brodeur. He's right there. I don't want to say he's better than Brodeur because I don't think anybody is, but Fleury has put a resume together that might be among the greats ever. So he's right there. You always have to put him in that discussion. I want to quickly talk about how great Nathan McKinnon's been in his playoff career, not just the seasons that he's put together. I mean, even when he was putting up the 55-point seasons, when he went to the playoffs, he was still killing it. He was still over a point a game. I remember Pagniello. You remember vividly when he was a rookie against that Minnesota team. He absolutely went off. I think he had 13 in the first 7. And then, unfortunately, he got bounced. But this is not the case this year. This is a guy that I think is the most dominant guy in the league right now with McDavid not in it anymore. I want to say him and Kucherov have proven to be the best players in this playoffs, Pasternak right behind them. But I love what McKinnon's been able to do. If Landeskog and Rantanen and this line can continue to gel, and even a guy like a Burakovsky and Donskoy, I feel like they're very underrated, and I feel like if they can keep going without a guy like a Nazem Kadri on the second line, then I can see Colorado winning this in as soon as 6 games. But seeing as it's 2-2, it's probably going to go to 7. But I got to give this one to Colorado. I've been saying since October that they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I just think Nathan McKinnon, it's finally time, man. He's dominating. He's been dominant. Rantanen I think he's a top 3 winger in the league. That's a hot take, I know. But I think Rantanen is an absolute star, and Landeskog has been captain since he was like 20. So he knows exactly what needs to be done. And, of course, Grubauer has emerged as a Vezina-type goalie too. So that helps their case. And I think if Grubauer can, be on the same level as Fleury, I think it's a wash. I think Colorado easily goes to the Stanley Cup final. But I'm still going to give this one to Colorado. And like I said, I think they're going all the way. But I got to ask this question before we move on. Out of all the players, I want you guys to name one player on each team, not the superstars. Which guys have impressed you the most on Vegas and Colorado throughout this run?
Yo, I'm kicking this off. My boy from the 2013 draft, 10th overall, Valeri Nishushkin. Remember that fucking name?
There it is.
Holy shit. I thought that man would be the next Rick Nash. All right? Remember that? He was just an absolute beast coming out of the KHL. And then he was amazing in his rookie year. And then he died for the next 5 years. And then now Colorado picks him up, and he's really worked his way into this top 9. And now he's playing in the on their top 6, and he's getting, power play time at times, and like he's getting in there. He's a valuable part of this team. He's not going to score like fucking crazy, but the fact that he's back in the league and he's playing valuable hockey is honestly so amazing to me, because there was like a 3-4 year stretch no one heard this guy's name.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna go Nikushkin too, because I remember Yager when he went to Dallas, and he said, "Oh yeah, Nikushkin is the best player in the world, or he has a potential to be the best player in the world." And at the time, he was like, "This guy can't be fucking serious. He's just like a rookie. He's making his confidence up." Good guy, Yager, but ends up having a downward trend in his career where it looked like he's going to follow Yakupov to the KHL, and we'll never hear from him again. Maybe until he's 35 in the World Championship on some random team in the Spengler Cup. But this guy's really turned it around. I'm really impressed with him. I think he's a nice fit on that line in the top 6. And it's just going to be interesting if Colorado gets past this round and Kadri comes back. Would you want to put Nichushkin with Kadri, or do you want to keep him on one of these lines? Because I think Kadri might be a guy you have to move to the wing just to balance everything out, and it might move Nichushkin down the lineup. But the way he's been playing, I don't know, he's making a strong case for himself that he should be getting those minutes in the power play and top 6.
I mean, I think it's pretty funny. They have Alex Newhook and Martin Kaut coming up too. They just drafted those 2 guys, and I think they're scratching the surface to make the team. And you have guys like Belmare and Donskoy and Comfer and those guys on like the bottom line, like on the 4th line. And I don't know if you put Kadri on the wing. I don't think that makes any sense. I think you keep him at center. You put Nichushkin on the left side, and you could keep Burakovsky on the right. That brings some sort of grit. You have the power forward, you have the gritty, skilled center in Kadri, and then you have the nifty winger in Burakovsky. But I don't know. It really comes down to what they see in Tyson Jost. And I don't know if it's his offensive game is never going to transition to that elite level that it was supposed to, but I thought for the longest time he was going to be a star in this league. He was getting comparables to Jonathan Toews. So you always got to kind of look at that and say, what kind of went wrong. But I think Tyson Jost, if he can be a late bloomer and kind of figure it out, then they have a little more of it's not really a bad problem to have, but it's a problem. You got to start thinking of where you can gel these guys in the lineup, and everybody wants ice time. But I don't know, Aulino, that's really tough. I don't know if I put Nichushkin on the second line, but the way that, of course, like you said, with what Yager said and him being a top 10 pick, maybe you keep him there just to see if the potential, goes through in the long run.
I like it.
But you guys say Nichushkin. I want to say Alex Tuck on Vegas. I think he's been one of those guys where over the last little while, they've really been focused more on guys like William Karlsson and Marchessault, because we've seen them be so elusive and great in Vegas. They've went from being outcast to superstars. That's the whole narrative of this team. And I think Alex Tuck is the definition of that. You got to look at this guy, guys. He was a first rounder. A lot of people forget that. He was drafted, I think it was to Minnesota or Nashville. I'm pretty sure it was Minnesota, though. He got drafted there, and, he wasn't really – they didn't want to keep him, and they just let him go in Minnesota. They kept, I think, a couple other guys like Parise and Bukestad and those guys that are the more significant role players at the time. And Alex Tuck, man, he's been outstanding. If anything, he might be on that top line now. I think he's knocked Riley Smith down to the 3rd line, and they're going with Janmark, Pacioretty, and Glass on the 2nd. So even Chandler Stevenson's been there at times. But what are you guys' thoughts been on Alex Tuck? I got to bring him up because I think this guy might be one of the more underrated guys in the NHL.
He's a beauty. You don't remember who drafted him because it was by the Wild, and no one fucking cares about the Wild. But yeah, he was kind of in the middle of the 1st round there. When under the radar for a couple years. He's such a big, strong player. He's always had such a killer shot. And he's one of those, like, they have a lot of good players on this team. You can put him on the top, second, or third line. I don't really think it matters. He'll play 17 to 20 minutes. He's a solid two-way player, great shot, big body. Like, he's just getting better. He's still young, so yeah, he's a golden knight going forward.
Nice little player. I like him. I like his grit, his determination. He came into that team where it was an expansion team, and everyone's thinking, okay, is he going to have a down year? Or is there just going to be a lot of growing pains there? But he's come into his own, and he's been low-key a big part of their success. So I think it's just going to continue there. I think he's going to be someone they rely on in the future. But right now, I think he fits well where they're not expecting too much from him when you have guys like Pietrangelo, Fleury, Carlson, Marchessault, Pacioretty. So I think he fits in nicely right now, but eventually when it's his time to come as the guy on that team, I think he'll be ready for that role.
Okay, and I love that, guys. Alex Tuck, Nishushkin, got to give him some love. Now I want to go to the last series. We got to go, of course, to the Islanders and the Bruins. And this series, it's been just as I thought. I said Islanders in 7. They're now up 3-2. What are your guys' thoughts been on this series? I know it's basically been the first line versus the Islanders. Haven't really seen a lot from Hall and Coyle and the second line in this series. And Krejci, it's been more Pasternak, Bergeron, and Marchand. But this guy has been outstanding this playoffs. I got to start with this name, Aulino. Pagniello. I know you used to have him in fantasy. Got to go to Charlie McAvoy. He's been absolutely incredible. He's basically doing what Torrey Krug did the last couple of years in terms of offense and the amount of ice time he plays. What are your guys' thoughts on Charlie McAvoy this postseason so far?
Yeah, man, he's amazing. This was kind of the year where because Torrey Krug signed in St. Louis, so someone was obviously going to have to take that role. And when you look at the rest of their lineup, yeah, no shot. It was going to be Charlie McAvoy. And he stepped into that right away, and he had a solid year. Bit of a slow start statistically, but like he plays 20 to 25 minutes a night. He's their anchor. He plays in every situation. So I think losing Krug, I don't think Bruins fans are going to bat an eye at it when they see this guy who's only, 22 or something like that. He's still young. He's right-handed, so he's the best thing since sliced bread. So Charlie McAvoy's a beauty, and Boston's got a good one going forward.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to go with the Islanders right here. Jordan Eberle is a stud. All right? You see Jordan Eberle when he was in Edmonton, had some struggles, but who didn't? Look who he played for. But you go in the playoff run, you take that run aside where they had 13 games and they got bounced when McDavid just carried them in 2017. He had 2 points. Goes to the Islanders, and in the last 3 years, he had 9 points in 8 games, 14 and 22 last year, and this year he's got 8 and 11. Jordan Eberle gets paid a lot of money, maybe more than what he's worth in the regular season, but come playoff time, that is the World Junior Championship winning Jordan Eberle that comes and show up. So I think Jordan Eberle is a stud. I think he's going to carry this Islanders team to the next round with Varlamov. And if this team wins a cup, I think Jordan Eberle will be your Conn Smythe winner.
Oh,
that's a hot take. Golden goal
in
the Stanley Cup final. If they get there, it's going to be Jordan Eberle. Can you believe it?
Man. Right beside that, Lou Lamoriello. Put a statue of him and Eberle side by side.
Oh, just to piss off Leaf fans even more? Damn.
Yeah, we're just going to let Lou go. He's out of touch. He's old. All right. We'll see. You'll all see. That was his last word. You'll all see. But yeah, I have the Islanders going to the conference finals, and I don't know what it is. I even said it to my dad because you guys all know he's a big Bruin fan. I just said it to him the other day because he's like, "Oh, the Bruins, I thought we wouldn't be this good this year. Rask getting older. We lost Krug and Chara." And I just looked at him. I'm like, "Dad, just shut up. You know you have the best line in hockey. You know that. You know that they're dominant. It doesn't matter what seed they're in. As long as Bergeron waltzes into the playoffs, you know something. At least they're winning one round. At least one, they're winning. So I said from day one when they got Palmieri and Zajac, similar faces that Lou knows. We all know that the Islanders, they haven't really had that star-studded player other than Barzell. But Barzell, he's blessed all Islander fans. They lose Tavares. They don't need him. they get Matt Barzell. They're winning playoff series left and right. And I'm really happy for Varlamov, too. That's another story. He was in Colorado. He was going through some personal issues. You could tell that it was definitely messing with his head in the last 2 years in New York. He's been amazing. And they even have a young gem in Sorokin behind him. So I really like this team for the future. You have Dobson on the back end. Pulak is still 25. They have Wallstrom. They have a couple other key guys that are coming up, not named Michael Dalcole. And, of course, you have Brock Nelson, he's a great third-line centerman. Of course, you have that grit and Clutterbuck and Komarov. They can gel, too, at times. They're underrated offensive guys. And, of course, JP Pajot, that guy, JG Pajot, that guy, oh my God, man, ever since leaving Ottawa and going to the Islanders, I feel like he's almost a 25-30 goal scorer. And he leads their team in points this postseason. It's between him and Bailey, and I'm not really surprised. So you say Eberle for the Conn Smythe if they win. I probably got to give it to a guy like a Pajot or like a Brock Nelson. I don't know. This team, they're not a sexy team by any means, but when you think of team chemistry and getting the job done, the New York Islanders, that's where they're at.
I don't see them
Game
being
7.
Tampa, though. That's the only thing. Like, if they can get lucky there, it might be tough. But if they get past Tampa and they go to the final, and if you're Vegas or Colorado, because let's be real here, they're the overwhelming favorite. I'm a little scared against the Islanders. That's when it's their time, and I think that rich history that a lot of people forget about the Islanders being a dynasty back then, this team could go back there with Lou Lamoriello, and he's going to show all those young little whippersnappers who's boss.
Is that who is to give most credit to? Is that Lou Lamoriello?
Probably Barry Trotz, but
Or just the management?
Lou is right there. Yeah, Lou's 100%. Right there. I mean,
just because when
go for it.
Because like a lot of good players here, but like when I look at this team, it's like when we talk about Utah in basketball, like they'll be fine, but I don't see them as contenders. But every time I watch them play, it's like they're one of the best teams in the league, and I'm still kind of in that. I don't believe in the Islanders, but man, like it kind of like what we were saying about Montreal, you kind of have to give them credit. So, fuck, man, I'll just say Boston in 7 though.
Yeah, like the thing that makes me really not happy, but being a hockey fan, and there's not a lot of teams anymore that are not sexy and good. So if you're an Islander fan, you really root for stories like this. Even like I'm not rooting for Montreal, but just seeing like where they kind of came from, it's like holy shit, anything is kind of possible, and that's why the Stanley Cup is probably the hardest trophy to win. So if I'm the Islanders and I beat out Boston and I have to face Tampa Bay, if I'm them, I'm pretty content with that. I don't think I'm that worried. I mean, Varlamov and Vasilevsky, like these guys, these goalies, they haven't really been. I mean, Vasilevsky, he's won the cup, but I still don't know with him. There's games where I look at Vasi and he'll put up like 870, and then there's another game he'll put up a 45 save shutout. So there's really no in between with him. I kind of feel that with the Islanders, they're either the most defensive, unreal team that I've seen, or they allow 5 goals. So I feel like the Islanders, the one thing they need to do to be successful is just keep that defensive identity. And it's hilarious because if you look at their defense, it might be the weakest on paper in this playoffs. It's just they have a role, they do it well, and they just stick to their job. And that's what I love with the Islanders. It's like they're the blue-collar team out of all the teams left. It's like they're the team that you look at And it's like you literally just said, Pagniello. It's like you look at them, it's the Islanders. I don't really feel. And then, of course, they win. So it's a story if they were definitely to go to the finals. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of rooting for them. But, I really want Colorado or Tampa to win. But if there has to be this tremendous story, then you know what? Why not? Why not New York? But we got to move on now. We're going to move on to the NBA quickly. We talked a lot about hockey today, 50 minutes, unreal. We're going to quickly go on. You know what? I watched Game 7 the other day. Clippers, Mavericks. Luka Doncic. This looked like 2015 Raptors. They're playing iso ball everywhere, all over the place. Just give Luka the ball and go down the court and see what happens. I guess I'll start this one with Pagniello. The Clippers move on. The villains are still in. The team that everybody was rooting for, yes, I'll say everybody, the team that everybody was rooting for to beat out the Clippers, they couldn't get it done. What does Dallas need to do to improve and for Luka to stay moving forward?
Not everyone, buddy. Woo! You know what they need? They need a number 2. Yeah, they got to keep adding to Luka. Because fuck, man, you know how much I love Porzingis. I'm always pumping his tires, but like the guy doesn't stay healthy, and he's making too much money, and he doesn't drive the fucking rim. When you have a 7'3" guy that pulls up from 30 feet away and it's not really a factor offensively, it's kind of tough. So Luka, I think he's going to triple-double regardless. Doesn't matter who he's playing with, but like, you got to get a solid number 2. Tim Hardaway's nice, but he's not always consistent. Finney Smith is still finding his way. Jalen Brunson had a nice playoffs, but it's just not enough. So I think with the Mavs, we didn't really learn anything. Luka's a fucking specimen. We knew that last year too.
Yeah, so Luka's a point guard, right?
Everything.
Yeah, because like I didn't see anyone else really touch the ball. That's troubling if you're Dallas. Porzingis, I thought, I don't know, he wasn't really involved as much as you would think, and especially in a Game 7. Like, I think Luka is too relied on to do everything, score, create plays, defend. Like, if he has help, like let's say they get Westbrook, who's a free agent now, as a point guard, you can have Luka Doncic be that the other guy there. I think they can play off each other really well, actually. Like, that would be a nice duo in Dallas, and I think from there you can trade Porzingis. And then all that cap space, maybe you go after someone else, like some depth pieces, or if there's a taker for Porzingis, maybe you go after like those second-tier guys that can come in, play a role, and kind of do what Washington was doing and OKC was doing with Westbrook. Like, have him dominate ball possession, have Luka Doncic get the shot selection. I see a guy like JV that would fit perfectly there, but I doubt Memphis would trade JV in any package for a guy who's barely playing like Porzingis. So that's a tough one. I think JV, though, you put him in Dallas's lineup with Doncic, I think that would be the perfect fit. Add Westbrook to that. That's a solid pairing, but not going to happen.
Can you imagine Westbrook and Doncic together? Holy shit, man. And that could probably happen. I mean, Dallas is a hot spot. When you have a guy like Luka at 21, 22 years old doing what he's
no,
doing.
it's not.
It's a hot spot. I don't care. I don't care. If I'm a free agent, I want to play with Luka Doncic. I don't care. I do not care.
No one wants to play with Dirk.
I want to play with Luka. I want to play with Luka. I don't want to play with anybody else. There's only maybe one other guy I want to play with, and his name is Jason Tatum, and that is it. I'm not playing with anybody else. If I'm over 30 years old, I'm playing with Luka Doncic. I do not care. I don't care if I get less touches. I really don't care, because Russ is at that point now. Now, again, can they both? We said this year, can Beal and Westbrook play together? Looks like it kind of worked. So, I mean, I don't know. Doncic, he does need the ball all the time. Westbrook does need the ball all the time. But we kind of saw it work. I don't know if it's going to lead to any postseason success. That's a completely different thing. But, I mean, come on, man. The NBA, it's entertaining as hell. I mean, why not? I'll vouch for that. Westbrook going to Dallas. Oh, that would be fucking hilarious. That would fuck up everyone's fantasy in basketball.
That's why I like it.
Like who goes first? Who goes first there? Is it Luka? Is it Giannis? Is it Harden? Is it like who goes first?
Oh man, that's a
Shit.
tough one.
Preference at that point.
But in terms with the Clippers, I'm really happy for them because they had to get over this series. If they lost this series, I was saying, I think it was to Nick, I was saying that this kind of would have been I don't want to say that they're in the same position as OKC was, but I'm saying if Luka could have managed to eliminate the Clippers here, do you guys think maybe the Clippers would have gone into a full rebuild like how OKC would, or am I being way too dramatic with that?
No, they don't have draft picks to rebuild. Everyone would opt out. Yeah, Kawhi would opt out before you can trade him, so he can pick where he wants to go. But yeah, I think the Clippers would be screwed. I think they have to win, go to at least the third round to save this, because if you lose in the second round again, everyone's going to look at Paul George. He said he started it himself. I think he ruined his own postseason by saying, "Oh, you saw Pandemic P. Everyone was clowning me about that, and this year I'm going to bring Finals MVP." So he did it to himself. We see Kawhi be the better player in most of those games, 95% of them. Kawhi obviously didn't show up in a couple of them that Dallas won, but for the most part, I've seen Kawhi be the better player than Paul George. And if Paul George is saying that's a Finals MVP version of him, then yeah, that's not a good look. So for their sake, they're going to have to go to at least a conference final or the final.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. You gave up 10 years of future, so you better make the fucking finals with the 2 years you have with these guys.
All right, so with that being said, they're taking on Utah. Utah's the first place team. We kind of view them like Carolina this year in hockey. They're the first seed, but they're really not the best team in the NBA. So with that being said, I'll say my prediction first. I have the Clippers winning this easily. I want to say 5 or 6. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you see the Clippers rolling through, or do you see Donovan Mitchell making something special in Utah?
I'll say the Clippers in 6. I'll say Mitchell is a bit of a problem throughout the series, but our boy Kawhi over there finds a way to shut him down.
Yeah, I'll go Clippers in 6. Last year, I thought was Utah's best opportunity with Conley coming in fresh off that Memphis run, and that was a new start for him. And then you had Mitchell, Gobert together all those years. We actually had some success in the playoffs. But like this year, there's always seems to be a story coming out of Utah. Like, oh, is Gobert and Mitchell still seeing eye to eye? Like all this drama, and then they kept Mitchell out of the lineup when he wanted to play game 1 in the last series. And I think there's just way too much distraction of the end goal here. I think it's realistic they could win. They have the team that could make the finals and actually win, but I just think all the behind-the-scenes stuff is going to take away from it, and I see it costing them in this round. I think the Clippers go to the conference final.
Do you guys see the Clippers maybe going to the finals, and the other series is Denver and Phoenix? And both those teams are, I want to say they're definitely the heroes here. They're the good guys when you look at the narrative. I mean, Phoenix is a team that, they went undefeated in the bubble last year. I thought they were tremendously improved ever since going into that bubble. But Devin Booker, we've all known for years now, he's been an offensive problem. He's starting to get that unreal chemistry with DeAndre Ayton. It's taken a little bit of time, but it's now finally leading to success, at least in the postseason. You add a guy like Chris Paul, who is, I think he's the point god. That's just my opinion, just based on the whole career that he's had. One of the best assist guys, steal guys, leaders, everything. Do you guys see Phoenix maybe beating out Denver? I got Denver winning this in 7, but I think Phoenix, I think they would be the better matchup, I think, for the Clippers in Denver.
They would. But, yeah, I'm with you on that. I got Denver in 7. This is going to be a fun one. It's 2 interesting teams here. But I think at this point, regardless, I got the Clippers going to the finals. So I'm just going to enjoy this. And then, like I said before, our boy Kawhi is going to take out either Booker and Paul or Jokic and fucking MPJ. So But yeah, Devin Booker, fuck. I was concerned about Booker. Not like, that's not how it sounds, just because 7 years in his career he's never been to the playoffs. So I was kind of like, is he going to light it up? What's going to happen? Is he just going to score 25 a game? But he's just exploded. And he sent LeBron home, putting up 40 plus points. And yeah, man, he's here.
Yeah, I just think Phoenix wins this just because they don't have Jamal Murray on Denver, and when Murray and Jokic play together, uh, it just flows a lot better. Right now, it's like they're trying too hard to find Jokic. All the other guys are trying to step up. MPJ and like Aaron Gordon, I think needs to step up even more to get to that level where it's going to make up for Jamal Murray, be a monster in the paint there. But for what it is right now, I just think Phoenix outmatch them there with depth, and Chris Paul. Like it's hard to go against him. Any series right now, I think Chris Paul has a better matchup. Like Patrick Beverly's not going to fucking guard Chris Paul. And then Rondo is, they got some bad blood, so that would be a little interesting to see those two go at it. But I still think Chris Paul would have his way with Rondo in that matchup. So it would go on to Booker and Paul George, Kawhi. I do say the Clippers edge them out, but I think it would be a tougher series than if the Clippers take on the Nuggets.
Yeah, I agree there. I got Denver. Like Denver to me is the team I think to beat still, like by a hair, just because they have the MVP. I think Jokic, what he's done all year. I think right now he's the best player in the world. That's just my opinion. You could take it or leave it. I just have the Nuggets edging Phoenix, just because of just Jokic, the way he's played, and of course you have MPJ and you have all those guys. They've been there. They're a year ahead of Phoenix, but like you said, Devin Booker, man, he sent LeBron James packing, and he hasn't had a first round exit, I don't think, ever. So Devin Booker's on a different level of confidence right now. Chris Paul is a guy, he comes into your system. He's a great leader, and he will vouch for you. He'll give you as much playing time and opportunities to score as you can. And you could now finally you're starting to see it with guys even like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. These guys are starting to shoot a little more, and it's because of guys like Chris Paul basically verbally telling these guys, hey, like I'm a 35-year-old, I'm a vet here. I want you guys to shoot it. You guys are young. You guys are up and coming. You need that confidence. So ever since Chris Paul going to Phoenix, there's been a completely different outlook there. And I'm actually going for them to win it all. If there's one team I want to win, I want Phoenix to win, just based off of course, Chris Paul. And I think Devin Booker, I think he's the type of guy, when you look at when his career winds down, the big scheme of things, he needs a ring. So I'm really going for Phoenix this year. I think they really need to win it. But like I said, the Nuggets and the Suns in this case are the heroes, and the Clippers are straight out the villains. And that's just how it is. And we're going to have to wait and see if the Clippers beat Utah. I'm looking forward to that conference final for sure. But I want to quickly move to the East. Man, Brooklyn, they're killing Milwaukee. The first two games, game one was pretty close. James Harden getting injured, that was definitely scary for them. But Blake Griffin is looking like his old self. He just dunked on Giannis last game, and they won by 40, I think. So what are your guys' thoughts on Brooklyn? Do you guys think there's really any team that could beat them? I said, I think it was last week, or it was the Pagniello separately, I said I think the Bucks are going to the finals. It looks like that might be done now. So is there any team that can beat Brooklyn, even with Atlanta being up 1-0 on Philly? Is this Brooklyn's year?
Yeah, man. I've been sticking with them all year. Obviously, they got to be at full health. I don't know how many times we say that. They got to be at full health. So hopefully they get James Harden back. But yeah, KD's just been out of this world. Griffin, it's like that whole stint with Detroit did not even exist. When he threw down on Giannis, I just started fucking dying of laughter. Their whole bench was loving it. Everyone was so hype. Man, I know they may not be as deep as other teams, but throughout the last month or so, this team is really clicking. Obviously KD and Kyrie have been amazing, but Griffin and Harris and Mike James coming over from Europe have been sparks for them in their lineup. So they absolutely smashed the Bucks in game 2. I don't think it's anything to do with the Bucks. I just think this is Brooklyn's year. So I think they'll get a game or two, but yeah, man, that's all the way.
Yeah, probably Philly would be one. But they have to be like Embiid has to be healthy, and then you have other teams there like Milwaukee. You would think would be the biggest problem. They're down 2-0 now, so I don't know how much more they can do. Like Middleton is playing well. You got Giannis. This is probably the best time to take advantage of Harden being out. So if they don't, and Harden comes back completely healthy, Brooklyn's going to probably walk to the final. So the only person I do see that could do it is Kawhi because he's done it in the past. So when the Claw gets to the final and activates his fucking superpowers, then we'll see something. But until then, I don't see an Eastern Conference team beating them.
I mean, it's safe to say I love Atlanta. I think the story was amazing this year, but it's safe to say you guys think Philly's gonna beat them.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even want to bring up the series. It's just kind of they won game one without Embiid. Trae Young went off, but we all know when Embiid comes back, it's almost over. I mean, I don't want to like count Atlanta out that badly where we don't even discuss it, but it's Philly. They've been in first all year. Embiid probably the second best player this year, maybe third. I want to say the top three have been Embiid, Curry, and Jokic all year. But yeah, so this is basically Brooklyn's this is Brooklyn's title to lose at this point with the Lakers now eliminated. That's at least how I look at it. I think this is Brooklyn's title to lose at this point. Like they have it. I think a lot of people assume that they're going to be the winners. And I guess I'll ask this final question before before I hand it over to Aulino to finish it. But do you guys, if we have a Clippers and Nets final, who is the hero there?
No one.
like I don't know. Like, are there going to be straight boos when someone wins, or like I don't really know. I mean, I'm always going to be rooting for Kawhi. Yeah, there's the hero. There he is.
That's the hero right there.
He's going to have another commercial with Arnold.
Attaboy.
Can't wait. He already has the keys to Toronto, Kawhi and Dine, and he's going to have it. He already has it in LA, but they got to start doing that to keep Kawhi there because we all know that if he wins a title, probably leaving.
Miami.
Imagine he goes to the Lakers. That would be a dick move. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for your time. The Clippers, I brought you a championship. I'm staying in LA, but I'm going to the Lakers.
It'll definitely be like Miami. It's like, oh, where's my new home now? Where's somewhere I want to go? Where's somewhere hot? Oh, I'm going to go to Miami. Okay. So Toronto was his home away from home, and he won. Then he won in San Antonio. That was when he was a little baby. And then he goes to LA, wins at actual home, and now he's going to go and make another home. So, yeah, Kawhi is if he wins this, I guess I'll ask this question too, because I said this to Nick. If he wins with his third franchise, do you put Kawhi top 10 all time?
Oh, fuck. Why do you throw those out?
I have to, man. Like three separate franchises, and they're random franchises. The Clippers, the Spurs, and the Raptors? You win 3 times with them? Oh, God. Put him top 10 all time. I'm doing that.
I feel like you kind of have to. Like, guys just don't do that. Especially for the Clippers. Like, they're the second-round curse with all of the great teams that they've had, and they can't even – and they've been bounced by those Warriors teams. Like, if Kawhi and Paul George can help bring a title to that city, I mean, if he wasn't GOATed already, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it just depends how he does it. If it's impressive and he goes on and beats a fully healthy Brooklyn Nets team decisively, I'm putting his name in the mix of the top 10. Not just there yet, but makes a strong case. When you go to San Antonio with those veterans, go on to the Raptors, give the first title in franchise history to a team that was counted out all those years, but they were still good, and go a team to the Clippers, who's pretty much a joke in the second round. It's been the running joke when they had Paul, Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. They have all this talent in the regular season. They get bounced. So if he can turn that around, oh man, he's a god.
Yeah, that's basically all I have for this week. Aulino, you have anything else to touch on?
Yeah, just the guess on basketball, little interesting thing here about the draft lottery coming up. Are you liking the Raptors' chances at maybe squeaking in there and getting the top pick?
Well,
I mean, you got
that's
to
what they're
say
saying.
yes. Yeah, you got to say yes, obviously, right, Pagniello? If you're a Raptor fan, you really want to be in you really want to be in the lottery. But I mean, I think this year in itself is a win. As crazy as that sounds for Raptor fans, I mean, we battled like we weren't even home all year. We were in Tampa, and most of our team had COVID. Like we were basically the Vancouver Canucks this year in the NBA. Okay, well, I mean, they played at home, but I mean, we had it really bad with COVID. All our star players at some point were injured for long periods of time. And the only guy that was balling out was a guy that we couldn't even afford to re-sign in the long run. And now we have a top 10 pick. So with the same core, I think this is a win-win if you're the Raps. I mean, as long as you really don't blunder the pick, which they haven't. Masai, we all know how great he is at picking guys. So yeah, even if we don't win the lottery, I'm pretty damn happy with the way it's going.
Yeah, we're in a sweet spot. When you look at our team too, like there are a few pieces here that are going to stick for the long haul. So, Raps fans have been saying this all year that this was the gap year. So the fact that we snuck into the top 10, seventh is a sweet spot to be in. Yeah, either way, I'm happy. But if we were to move up, that can change some things for sure.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because if they get the first overall pick with this group that they already have, are you trading some guys away or are you trying to tell Kyle Lowry to stay one more year and maybe make a run there?
Well, I said to Pagniello, if we get the first pick, I'm probably taking Evan Mobley over Cunningham. And Cunningham has been the guy all year to go first. And you look at our team, we got Flynn, we got I think Lowry. I think he's going to stay. I don't know. I just have that feeling. I think he's going to sign a 1 year with us. We got Van Fleet too. So like I feel like if you look at positionally, if we win the lottery, Mobley, I said to Pagniello, I think if everything clicks, he could be like a Towns, but I think a little more polished defensively too. So that's incredible. We need a center, of course. After letting Ibaka, Gasol go, we still have Boucher. I like what I've seen from Kem Birch, but we need an actual number one center at the 5. We need a number 1 5 spot. So I think Evan Mobley would definitely be the guy I'm looking at drafting if I'm the Raps.
It would be too good to be true. Just because when you look at this whole season, what's been the worst part of it? It's been the center position, starting off with fucking Aaron Baines over there. Then
Don't
we
bring
had
him up.
Alex Len. Oh my God, Alex Len at the start, and then transitioned into Boucher, who had a nice year, and then finished off with like Gillespie. But like it's a little rough right now. So yeah, if we were to get Mobley at 1 or 2, depending on, can we only get the first pick, or can we like move up a spot or 2?
I think they can move up. They're was it 8th or 7th in the odds the last time I checked. I have to double check, but I think they got a good position to maybe move up to 5 or 4.
Yeah, like positionally though, yeah, that's best case scenario. If we were to take like Cunningham, I'm probably like trading Flynn. That's basically all you can do, and then maybe re-sign Lowry 1 more year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cade Cunningham is probably the most pro-ready out of any guy. He's like 6'6", and he's already got like that body, like that De'Aaron Fox type body, very fast, elusive, athletic. He's a guy that he's game changing. I think he could be better than a John Morant. That's just my opinion. I've seen a lot of him this year. When I was in quarantine, I actually watched a couple of his games. He was freaking scary as hell. So Cunningham, I think he's an elite talent, but I think Evan Mobley, when you look at an offensive piece that you just can't ignore. So if I'm like Detroit, if I'm Houston, like even Detroit, I mean, even if I'm Houston, you have Christian Wood, and like let's say a team that's outside the top 5 wins the lottery. Like I don't know, like let's say the Magic's 8th pick wins the lottery and they get the 1st and 3rd pick, and it's an absolute blessing for them. If I'm a team like Houston, or like if I have the 2nd pick and they really, really wanted Cade Cunningham, I think it doesn't matter, because I think Evan Mobley, guys like Jalen Green, Kuminga, those guys that are in the top 4, I know like in terms of depth, this draft, it's pretty weak. I don't think anybody past like 21st overall is going to be a superstar. But I think the first 6, 7 guys that are going to be in this draft, I think they're going to be offensive powerhouses based off what I've seen. Like Jalen Green, I've seen in some mock drafts, he's projected to go as low as 8th, and he's been compared to like a baby KD, so I guess an Ingram. So, I mean, I'm excited. Like I said, if I'm a Raptor fan, whether we're picking 1st, 5th, 7th, wherever it is, I think we're going to get a great player. So if I'm teams like Houston, if I'm like Detroit, they really shouldn't worry. I think they're getting a great player regardless.
Yeah, man, definitely. And I guess final couple minutes here. I just want to bring this up because there was a little debut in the wrestling world. Probably going to be the first of many since they released Bubba Braun, Buddy Murphy, a lot of guys and gals in WWE. And one of them who got released and didn't have a non-compete clause made the jump. Andrade El Idolo, now with Vicky Guerrero and AEW. What do you think about this? And do you think AEW is going overboard with signing the former WWE talent?
They're not going overboard. They're doing the right thing. He's one of the greatest wrestlers. He was one of the greatest wrestlers in WWE. I want to say probably top 15. Letting a guy like him go, it really hurts. It stings. This is a guy where I thought he would be a WWE champion. When he was doing his stuff with Garza, I thought that was also picking up steam, and I thought they were going to give him a little more importance, but that just never came. So this is great for him. I mean, I don't know if this is just like a whole wrestling, like it's because of, what Eddie Guerrero was, but like, I don't know why they had to make him align with Vicky. I don't know if it's the whole Mexican heritage thing. I assume that's the reason. But I think he's going to be a star right out the gate. I think he's going to go for the AEW title in like less than 3 months. That's what WWE should have done with him. And dude, I think this guy's an absolute star. So if I'm AEW, it's definitely not a blunder. I don't think there's ever an amount of WWE guys. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be a problem with the amount of WWE guys they sign, because it is the biggest promotion in wrestling. So, but Andrade is a star. I'm really happy for him in this fresh start. I think he's going to knock it out the park.
I think at some point everyone's worked for WWE, but when you look at their roster, like a lot of these mainstream stars, it seems like it's overkill, but it's really not, because when a guy like Andrade becomes available, yeah, I don't give a shit about what you said in the past about like the amount of WWE guys. Like, that guy's available. There are just certain guys you got to break bank for. Everything that Chris said, like we thought he'd be a WWE champion, if not now, in the short future. But like, this guy has all the potential in the world. He's so good in the ring. I don't even care about like him and the fact that the heritage, whatever, him and Vicky, like Vicky could stand beside anyone and make them look like $1 million. So with her on the mic and with his in-ring ability, there's no limit to this guy.
And where do you think Braun is going to land? Because they don't have too many giants over there. And I think Braun going in there could be huge. But also, do you go into the other route, maybe go to Impact and be their big main event monster and go in and use that as a big payday after in like a couple of years?
I'm going after Braun.
If you're who?
Not AEW. If I'm TNA, I'm going after Braun Strowman. I mean, well, I guess they are the same thing now, but I mean, like, I would preferably have him go to TNA and stay in TNA and be like the face there. But again, I think now they're both together, AEW and TNA, so I guess just go to AEW. But I feel like if he were to go to AEW, I feel like they would do the Brian Cage approach. They would like have him come in, maybe give him a manager, and like maybe have like a dominant feud right out the gate and then lose a whole lot of steam. So I don't know if you bring Braun Strowman in and you make him kind of like a Brian Cage type character, or you make him do his own thing. I really don't know. I don't know if they're confident with him, being on the mic freely by himself. I know that he struggled in WWE with that. Maybe that's why he never really got that opportunity. But I think if I'm AEW, like I said with Andrade going there, I think it's only a matter of time. I think Braun and Aleister Black, I think they're the superstardom and the star power, the aura around them. I think it's too big to ignore. So I think the AEW is going to sign both of them too.
I mean, they could definitely use him in Impact, but would it be totally off the board if I said he's going to be on the Indies for like a year or two and then just retire from wrestling? Am I the only one that can think like that?
Oh man, imagine.
I only disagree because of the level of stardom and like just how well known he's become. I just don't see him doing that. Like in terms of like guys like Big Cass and Enzo, they did that because that was the only option they had. Whereas big, strong movie star Braun Strowman, fresh off free agency, I don't see him going into the Indies. There's no way. I don't see it.
Yeah, so I could see Strowman kicking it right to Hollywood just for those reasons.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like he's that type of guy. I don't see him loving the wrestling like the wrestling part of it that much to go to the Indies. I don't see it.
That's why like a year or so. And then he'll be like, you know what? This is a totally different world. I actually don't like this that much. I miss those big cameras.
At least you're giving him the benefit of the doubt. I don't give him any of that. I don't see him. I see him looking like in the Indies in the bingo halls, looking, nah, this isn't for me. I'm done.
Not working for me today.
You should go there to take on Big Cass and then retire.
Oh man.
Big Cass will humble him. Fucking look around, be like, here's some humble pie. Fucking eat it.
Or if he goes to New Japan, join the Bullet Club and do this whole new character and be like a fucking monster over there.
That'd be
and
hilarious.
Then go on for that like big payday. But I think this guy's not going to the bingo halls. He's going to make too much money. He's going to demand at least, if the contract's not starting with like $1 million, he's going to hang up the phone.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel with Braun. And I love Braun, but yeah, he's you could tell he's a moneymaker, all eyes on me type guy. He wants the attention, he wants the clout, he wants all that. So I'm gonna say no to the indie scene, but Pagniello, I like that you're giving him the benefit of the doubt there. I like that.
There it is.
But anyways, guys, that's episode 134. Talked about the NHL and NBA playoffs. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Watch that on Sportsnet. Watch that on TSN, on any sports provider you guys have. Make sure to listen to us on all of our places we're on. We're on like 8 million different places, so that's fun. On Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those places, Anchor, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. We're all there in the zone. This is us signing out. Stay tuned for episode 135.